the story of Earth and life, the beginning of Earth. Billions of years ago, the universe was full of dust, rocks, and fire drifting through space. There was no Earth like the one we know today. No oceans, no green forests, no animals, and no people. But slowly, small pieces of dust and rock began to come together. They clumped and collided, pulled by gravity, and grew larger and larger. After countless crashes and explosions, these pieces formed a new planet. That planet was Earth, born about 4.5 billion years ago. A fiery young planet. The early Earth was not calm or safe. It was covered in rivers of hot lava. Asteroids and comets crashed into it again and again, creating giant craters. Volcanoes exploded, sending smoke and ash into the sky. The air was thick with poisonous gases. The surface was too hot for water to stay. Oceans could not exist, and life seemed impossible. But even this fiery chaos was an important part of Earth's journey. Rain and the first oceans. The same comets and asteroids that crashed into Earth also carried something very important: water. Slowly, Earth began to cool. The hot air formed clouds, and then the rain began to fall. It rained not for days, not for weeks, but for millions of years. The endless rain filled the craters and valleys, creating lakes and seas. At last, the first oceans covered the Earth. The Earth had changed from a world of fire into a world of water. The oceans would become the home of the very first life, the first spark of life. In these oceans, something amazing began. Chemicals mixed together, some from volcanoes, some from lightning, and some from rocks that fell from space. They combined again and again until one day the first living cell appeared. It was tiny, so small that you could not see it with your eyes. But it had one special ability. It could copy itself. That was the beginning of life on Earth. The age of tiny life. For almost 2 billion years, life stayed very small. There were no animals, no plants, and no fish. Only tiny single-celled microbes floated in the oceans. But these small creatures were busy changing the world. Some of them learned to use sunlight to make food. This process is called photosynthesis. As they did this, they released oxygen into the air. At first, oxygen was deadly to many microbes. But over time, life adapted. Oxygen filled the oceans and later the skies. The air we breathe today began with these tiny early cells. Bigger, stronger, stranger. With oxygen in the atmosphere, new possibilities appeared. Cells started joining together to make larger, more complex life forms. By about 600 million years ago, the oceans were filled with soft-bodied animals. They were simple, but they were the start of bigger life. Then came the Cambrian Explosion about 540 million years ago. Suddenly, animals of many shapes and sizes appeared. Some had shells, some had legs, and some even had eyes. For the first time, there were hunters and prey. The oceans became a busy, dangerous, and exciting place. From ocean to land, fish grew stronger. They developed jaws, fins, and backbones. And about 370 million years ago, some fish took the first steps onto land. These became the amphibians, animals that could live in water but also breathe air. From amphibians came reptiles, who had a powerful new skill: tough eggs that could survive on land. This allowed reptiles to live in many new places. And from reptiles came some of the most incredible animals in history, the dinosaurs. The age of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for more than 150 million years. Some were giant plant eaters as tall as buildings. Others were fast and deadly hunters with sharp teeth and claws. Flying reptiles soared in the skies. Huge marine reptiles hunted in the oceans. It was truly the age of giants. But about 66 million years ago, disaster struck. A giant asteroid crashed into Earth. The sky filled with ash and smoke, blocking out sunlight. Plants died, animals starved, and the dinosaurs disappeared. The rise of mammals. While the dinosaurs had ruled, small mammals lived quietly in the shadows. They were tiny, furry creatures that hid from the giants. But after the asteroid, mammals survived. With the dinosaurs gone, mammals spread and grew into many different forms. Some became huge, like mammoths. Some became fierce hunters, like saber-toothed cats. Some even returned to the oceans, becoming dolphins and whales. Among these mammals were the primates, who lived in trees, used clever hands, and had sharp eyes. From primates came apes, and from apes came something new, humans. The first humans. A few million years ago, in Africa, some apes began walking on two legs. They were the first early humans. Walking freed their hands to make tools from stone. They learned to control fire. They hunted together, shared food, and cared for one another. Their brains slowly grew larger. They learned to speak, to imagine, and to plan. Many types of humans appeared, but only one survived: Homo sapiens, modern humans. The human journey. Humans spread out of Africa and traveled across the world. They painted pictures on cave walls. They built shelters and told stories. They learned to farm, to raise animals, and to live in villages. Villages grew into towns. Towns grew into great cities. Humans built temples, ships, and monuments. They created music, languages, and cultures. They explored mountains, deserts, rivers, and oceans. They invented tools, machines, and finally technology that changed the world. And today, humans even travel into space, looking at the stars, asking where we came from. The story of life. From dust and fire to oceans and microbes. From fish to dinosaurs, from mammals to humans. The story of life is the story of change, survival, and discovery. It reminds us that we are connected to everything around us. The trees, the birds, the insects, and the whales in the ocean, they are all distant relatives. The atoms in your body were once part of stars. The cells in your body are connected to that first living cell in the sea. We are not separate from nature. We are part of it, and our story is still being written. The story of life. From dust and fire to oceans and microbes. From fish to dinosaurs, from mammals to humans. The story of life is the story of change, survival, and discovery. It reminds us that we are connected to everything around us. The trees, the birds, the insects, and the whales in the ocean, they are all distant relatives. The atoms in your body were once part of stars. The cells in your body are connected to that first living cell in the sea. We are not separate from nature. We are part of it, and our story is still being written. What happens next is up to us. We are the only species that can look back and tell the story of life. And we are also the species that will decide how the next chapters are written. If we care for the earth, the story will continue to grow in beauty and wonder. If we forget our place in nature, the story may take a darker turn. Every tree, every ocean wave, every bird in the sky is part of our family. And when we look up at the stars at night, we can remember that is where our journey began and where it may someday continue. The story of Earth is not only the story of the past. It is the story of today, tomorrow, and the endless future ahead.